Tonight, we dig into the issues relating to the oil spill and the Ogoni spill saga and some of the issues that have emanated from there. And today, the PDP Board of Trustees have sided with Ude Okoye, Judge Sam Ayawu as the National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale here in Abuja. So much that we have for you tonight on the program. So sit tight, everyone, brace up. Before we get started, let me serve you with some of your political roundup stories.
President Bola Tinubu has departed Abuja for Paris on a private visit to Addis Ababa, the Ethiopian capital. The presidency had indicated that the president will meet with his French counterpart, President Emmanuel Macron, during the private visit. The president will arrive at Addis Ababa next week for the 46th ordinary session of the Executive Council and the 38th ordinary session of the Assembly of the African Union Heads of State, which is scheduled to hold from February 12 to February 16. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has raised the proposed 2025 budget from 49.7 trillion naira to 54.2 trillion, citing additional revenues generated by key government agencies. The president conveyed the budget adjustment in separate letters sent to both the Senate and House of Representatives, which were read during plenary. According to the letter, the increased figures were driven by 1.4 trillion naira in additional revenue from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, 1.2 trillion naira from the Nigeria Customs Service, and 1.8 trillion naira generated by other government-owned agencies. He assured lawmakers that the budget will be finalized and passed before the end of February.
We guided that this additional revenue should be used to further strengthen the Bank of Agriculture, Bank of Industry, support the diversification by putting more money in the solid mineral sector.
Meanwhile, the Senate has officially terminated the appointment of 3 resident electoral commissioners following a request from President Bola Tinubu invoking Section 157, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. The affected officials, as read by the Senate Majority Leader, Dr. Nura Ali of Sokoto State, Barrister Hudu Yunusa Ari Adamawa State, and Professor Ikemefuna Chijoke Uzochukwu from Abia State. They had been suspended in 2023 over allegations of electoral misconduct, including violations of the Electoral Act, election compromise, fraud, and abandonment of duty. Meanwhile, the Senate has formally announced the defection of Senator Nen Nwoko from the People's Democratic Party to the ruling All Progressives Congress following his recent resignation from the opposition party. Citing worsening instability and internal crisis within the PDP, Senator Nwoko stated that the party's current status poses a threat to his political career, prompting his decision to switch allegiance. The senator, in the correspondence read by the President of the Senate, urged the Senate to establish an ad hoc committee to investigate the ongoing crisis within the PDP. He emphasized the need for a viable opposition to safeguard Nigeria's political landscape and ensure a balanced democratic process. And the House of Representatives is asking the Nigerian Communications Commission to investigate the reports of telecom service providers in Nigeria linking national identification numbers to subscribers' lines without their consent, thereby exposing them to criminal activities and subjecting legitimate NIN holders to grave risk. The House wants the NCC to take immediate actions against any telecom service provider found to be culpable in this practice. The House reached a resolution following a motion of urgent national importance by Honorable Patrick Umar. And the chairman of the Independent Corruption Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, Mr. Musa Aliyu, says the commission recovered about 20 billion naira as pension from Goswell workers in 2024. Mr. Adamu adds that the commission also stopped the looting of 50 billion naira from a certain ministry in 2023. The chairman made these revelations at a meeting with the Nigerian Guild of Editors from northern Nigeria in Abuja. He calls for full collaboration from the editors as the fight against corruption is a collective one. The Edo State Assets Verification Committee, set up by the state government in November 2024 to ascertain the state's assets and liabilities, has submitted its final report to the state governor, Mr. Mondo Pebolo. The chairman of the committee, Ernest Omakike, in delivering the report, notes that his team identified assets where government's resources had been mismanaged or improperly allocated. Governor Pebolo, in his address, thanked the team for the dedication given to the assignment and assured them that he would look into the report along with its recommendations.
Well, you heard a story from the Senate today when the president asked that 3 persons who have been found in one way or the other not fit to serve as INEC resident electoral commissioners should be removed. The letter written by the president. Today also, the High Court in Akwa Ibom sentenced Professor Ignatius Uduk of the University of Uyo to 3 years imprisonment for electoral fraud during the 2019 general elections. Uduk, a professor of human kinetics, served as a collation returning officer for Esian Udim State Constituency in March 2019. He's been standing trial in a 3-count charge of announcing false result, publishing false result, and perjury. The trial judge, Justice Basse Ikanang, acquitted him on count 1 but found him guilty of counts 2 and 3. He was therefore sentenced, Professor, to 3 years on each of the 2 counts. INEC under Mike Igini, as resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, had opened prosecution against the Professor Uduk on a 3-count amended charge of abandonment of duties, publishing announcing of a fake election result and scores, and lying on oath. All right, and tonight, a few things for us to remember and on lest we forget tonight. The Ogoni spill and the paradox of oil wealth. Lest we forget, the Niger Delta, rich in crude oil yet destitute in basic human necessities, remains the very definition of a tragic paradox where wealth fuels ruin and prosperity breeds poverty. Nowhere is this paradox more profound than in Ogoni land, where the people, owners of the land, have reaped death while others reap dollars. The 2011 UNEP report laid bare a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. Benzene levels in Ogoni land drinking water were found to be 900 times above WHO's safety standards, and hydrocarbon contamination has seeped 5 meters deep into the ground, making agriculture and clean water a distant memory. Decades after Kensaro Wiwa and his comrades paid the ultimate price for environmental justice, the promise cleanup has become another monument to Nigeria's systematic failure. A $1 billion project plagued by corruption, mismanagement, and insincerity. The recent 2023 audit by the Center for Research and Multinational Corporations exposed how funds meant for remediation were diverted. Contracts awarded to unqualified firms, and vast swaths of land remain toxic, debt traps. Lest we forget, the oil boom has in reality been an oil doom, a generational curse that has crippled an entire people while lining the pockets of a few. But Ogoni is not a place. It is a metaphor for a nation that cannibalizes its own. A brutal reminder there is an Ogoni in all of us. When leaders turn a blind eye to suffering, when the state and corporations collude against the people, when greed supersedes governance, Ogoni is reborn in every forsaken community. Lest we forget, we are a country that has normalized impunity, where the cries of the marginalized fade into the background of executive silence. Have we learned anything as a people? Has the senseless sacrifice of the past informed a different future? Or are we content to watch history repeat itself, spilling blood for oil, exchanging human lives for barrels of crude? The Ogoni experience is a call to action, a demand for reorientation, for resistance against leadership that is both visionless and vicious. Lest we forget, destinies are not handed to us, they are seized, and if the people of Nigeria do not rise to take back what is rightfully theirs, then the tragedy of Ogoni will be the tragedy of us all. Lest we forget, a reminder to us all. So tonight, our attention first and foremost will be on the People's Democratic Party, and we will come back to the issues of Ogoni land, something that makes the heart bleed. And we're going to be dissecting the way forward for that people, those people who are blessed under the ground yet impoverished by the environmental degradation they see every day. First and foremost, let me take you to the People's Democratic Party, where the crisis is tearing the party apart. Today, the board of trustees of the party are sided with Senator Saga and says that Ude Okoye is a rightful national secretary of the party. Let me allow you to listen to the chair of the board of trustees of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Adolphus Wabara.
Hereby adopt the report of its committee led by Saga to Raki STN on the issue of the national secretary of the PDP, especially with regard to the declarative judgment of the High Court of Edo as upheld by the Court of Appeal. Consequently, the DOT, by adopting the report, recognizes Honorable Sunday Ude Okoye as the substantive national secretary of the PDP in full obedience to the declaratory judgment of the High Court of Edo, as also upheld by the Court of Appeal, there being no contrary or overriding judgment from any court of superior jurisdiction.
Let's get a sense of what this means, not only between these two men. You remember the last time this matter got to the headquarters of the party, people were throwing punches, literally in scuffle. A party that is supposed to serve an example of opposition and also serve as the very, very respected way of doing politics have now become the very bad example of what politics should not be. I'm being joined tonight by a former national legal advisor of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Mark Jacobs, who is live with us right here in our studio. It's good to see you, Mark.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, your party looks disturbed, but it's interesting that the BOT is siding Ude Okoye. But one thing that Sam Oyanwu has said continuously, that look, the matter has gone to the Supreme Court. He remains the authentic national secretary of the party. Do you think what the PDP BOT did today was right, to have sided with Ude Okoye?
Let me say from the onset that what we are seeing today is the BOT siding with common sense, siding with decency, and siding with the rule of law. The situation where any officer of the party or member of the party will become so arrogant, so powerful, that he will even call the governor, he will tell governors of the party that their forum is not an organ recognized by the party. Any individual that starts talking like that is a clear example of impunity that has gone beyond any decent lines. So the decision of the BOT today is so sweet because it signals that one, the party wants to obey court orders. Two, the party or the BOT is listening to the voices of those who form the fabric of the party. Because this issue is so elementary, it's so easy to handle that it is a shame that a national secretary of the party, elected by members of the party, will become so powerful that he will not even listen to the voices of the people.
So let's take it from from the legal point of view. As a lawyer, it was interesting when inviting you. We do know that you're a lawyer, you know the institution very well. You've served as a member of the NWC of the party, so you know the party on both legal grounds and as a political institution. First and foremost, what does the law say and what is the practice when a matter goes to the appellate court, for example, it goes, this matter has gone to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And the Supreme Court, in the appellate position, will review what the Court of Appeal has said in this matter.
Yes.
Does it naturally mean that that is a stay?
No, not at all. All the decisions of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal are very clear that the mere fact that you have filed an appeal does not operate as a stay of execution of the judgment of the lower court. That is settled. Even in the case of Gongola State against Tussle, that was a Supreme Court decision where they said, no, the mere fact that you have filed an appeal does not make for stay. And
are you aware,
particularly now, when you have a situation where the entire judgment we're talking about is a declaratory judgment, where declarations were just made. You are not the national secretary, this person is the national secretary. Those kind of declaratory judgments cannot be stayed. Naturally, nobody gives you a stay when you have a declaratory judgment.
Let's explain what they do, because a lot of non-legal minds who are watching tonight may be wondering, because this is largely a legal matter.
Yes.
Because Mr. Sam Anyanwu is standing on the legal ground, and his claim to the national secretaryship of the party is on the grounds that he has gone to appeal the matter at the Supreme Court. Yes. Because the matter is with the Supreme Court, he thinks and he claims that he remains the national secretary of the party. What is a declarative judgment? What does it portend? What does it mean?
Now, you see, when a court delivers a judgment, let me give you an example of a bank. If there is a judgment that says money should be paid to someone, or somebody should be given something, land or so, and the person appeals. Naturally, if he files, even if he just files an application for stay of injunction for execution at the higher court, that will operate as a stay. And the court, the superior court, will grant that application. One other issue is that the lower court, where the matter was heard, once the appeal has been entered, naturally, the lower court does not have jurisdiction to even listen to the application for stay of execution. Mm-hmm. That application can only be taken at the superior court, where the appeal has been lodged.
In the case of Sam Anyanwu,
yes,
has the Supreme Court entered into the matter?
No, the appeal has been entered.
Has been entered.
Yes, all the records have been transmitted.
So one will imagine that as the case of the entered, yes, does it naturally mean that the judgment of the appeal court takes effect?
The judgment of the Court of Appeal is in effect. Nobody has stopped
immediately.
It. Yes. So once they deliver that judgment, it becomes operative. And there is a declaratory judgment.
There is no record whether Sam Anyanwu has gotten a stay of execution.
Well, I don't have it. Because the truth is that when the Court of Appeal in Enugu delivered its judgment, naturally, everybody involved in that case ought to comply with the orders of the court. You don't need any policeman coming to say, we are removing you. You don't need any court bailiff to come and say, get out of the office. No. Once you have been served with the judgment, you are under obligation to obey. Even if you are appealing. And if we are going to follow precedents, a person who wants the Supreme Court to exercise jurisdiction and give him judgment or favor him should be seen to be someone that respects the court, should be seen as someone who obeys court orders. We have not seen this in Senator Sam Anyanwu, because he has not just resisted, he has insulted people, he has gone forcefully to occupy the office after the judgment of the Court of Appeal. And I don't see how you expect any court to be friendly with you when you have shown a disdain, a disrespect, a complete disrespect of the orders of the Court of Appeal. This is the Court of Appeal, not even not a magistrate court, not a high court.
Have you heard what Senator Sam Anyanwu said?
Yes.
Have you heard what he said?
I heard it.
What do you make of his claims?
You see, obey first. It's not the military kind of obey before complain, no. But that is what it really is. If a judgment says, this is what you should do, this is what you are, a judgment defines your status. So it says you are not the
so you think that whatever legal claims or legal stance Senator Sam Anyanwu is standing on is faulty. Is that what you're saying?
Completely faulty as far as I'm concerned, because you must display total respect and honor to the judiciary. You can't throw the judiciary under the bus and still expect that same judiciary to come and give you orders that you want. It doesn't work. And no father will be happy that his son goes to the beer parlor and insults him.
But let me ask you, is it fair? And there are people who have gone to run for office and return to their elective office as a national, as an executive or as an official of the party. Is it fair on Sam Anyanwu, who ran and lost, to come back and he has been removed, or his seat has been taken from him? Is it fair?
This constitution of the PDP is very clear on these matters. When you want to run for office, you are required in your form, the form you fill for the contest, you must indicate that you have resigned. And in fact, you attach your resignation letter from any other employment or engagement prior to the contest. And from very reliable source, Sam Anyanwu resigned. Sam Anyanwu resigned from his position and attached that to his form. And there is a caucus, the Southeast Caucus, made up of the governors, chairmen of the party from different states, and other party followers. They have a duty, when such a vacancy occurs, they have the duty to now sit and replace him, which they did in line with the constitution.
Let me hold on for a moment.
Yes.
Let's listen again to what Sam Anyanwu. For a moment, the man is not seated here, but it looks like his head has been shaved so many times in his absence, just like the BOT has done tonight. But remove him from the chair and put Ude Okoye there. Meanwhile, Sam Anyanwu is insisting on one thing. Take a listen to what he's saying.
Last December, precisely 28th of December, the appeal court in Enugu, they would take dissenting judgment, which a cause was awarded against the opponent in my favor. Meta said that they are affirming the judgment of the state high court in Enugu. But as a matter of fact, what the law says that I should appeal. I appeal the matter, appeal for state of execution, and appeal to the Supreme Court. Obviously, what it means that the position remains as it is until determined by the Supreme Court. This party belongs to the people, not to an individual, not to a person, not to a group, but to the people. Because this is the only party that took power away from the military. And this party is in every family in Nigeria. So I always ask for our party faithfuls to be strong, to remain firm with the party, and let's work together. It's possible, 2027 is possible for us to get that presidency, which all of us have been suffering for. And that's why we're here anyway.
Mr. Jacob, I'd like you to respond to what he said. That is his stand, and that is the basis of his claim to that seat.
I pity him because, again, he's not a lawyer, and he's picking something that is not founded on law. I have said it, and it is established by several decisions of the Supreme Court, that the mere fact that you have filed an appeal does not operate as a stay, particularly in declaratory judgments. When it is a declaratory judgment where you are contesting either a chieftaincy or an election position and so on, that cannot operate as a stay. And his lawyers will tell him, if they have not told him, they are not fair to him.
Now, let's get to the decision or to the stance of the BOT today.
Yes.
The BOT is the conscience of the party.
Yes.
They lack, or they do not have so much of executive powers to act on behalf of the party. And there are those who will believe that whatever the BOT says is more advice in advisory. In fact, they are the conscience, they are the advisory of the party. There is an opinion they share today, isn't it?
No, it's a decision. It's just like having your board of directors in a company, and they take a decision. And
but BOT is not a decision-making organ of the party.
The BOT, like you have rightly said, is the conscience of the party.
But it's not a decision.
Conscience, it is.
It's not a decision.
Under the Constitution,
if you check the Constitution right
they
there,
have advisory role. Yes. But
which is not binding.
No, it's very binding.
It's not binding.
Unless
check the Constitution. In the role and its statutory position, in the order of, in fact, in the order of things in your party, the Constitution is right there. And I know a bit much about what your party Constitution is all about.
Yes.
The BOT ranks very low in terms of executive decision of the party.
Well,
they serve advisory.
That would be contradictory, because if you say you are the conscience of the party.
Advisory.
That is, you see, once you use that word conscience, you have heralded and placed the BOT above everybody.
So let me I will relate it just a moment, sir. I will relate it just a moment, sir.
The decision-making organ of the party.
The National Economic Council,
yes,
as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution, for example,
yes,
is so powerful because they are a political bloc where you have ministers, you have governors, you have even a vice president as a chair. But guess what? The Constitution says they are what decision they make is advisory to the president. The president is at the discretion whether to take it or not.
Yes.
The position, if you read the position and the duty, the statutory duty of the BOT in that Constitution there's no place where it says that the BOT has executive powers to take a decision on behalf of the party.
Now let me tell you, the difference between the National Economic Council and the BOT or the PDP is simple. All the members of the BOT are members of NEC. The decision-making bodies you are talking about. They are members of NEC.
But they are not the only members of NEC.
No, they are not the only members. And the powers exercised by NEC, the powers exercised by the NWC are strictly guided by the BOT. Only a reckless NWC will be at loggerheads with the Board of Trustees, because the Board of Trustees can take that constitution away from the NWC. Because they are the custodians of the
So let me ask you this, Mr. Jacob.
Yes.
On a final note, this is not only a constitutional or legal matter, this is highly political. And we know that even the blind could see that what is happening in the PDP is largely political. And there are sides to this matter.
Oh, sure.
And it does look like the BOT, as constituted today, as a side, they've taken sides. And it does look like it is the side of Atiku Abubakar, for example. Just a moment, because a lot of people are of the opinion that Sam Anyanwu is a weakest man. In your own thinking, I mean, you've spent a lot of years in the party. What do you think is a permanent solution and a way forward, a permanent fix for your party? Just in about 30 seconds. So
for me, if I had a position to declare, I would ask that the entire NWC be dissolved. Right
but their tenure is in July.
No,
the
political party has a duty and a right to cure ailments.
But does
like what we have now.
The BOT has the power to dissolve
the BOT with the consent and the help of NEC can do that. Advise the NEC and NEC will ratify.
Yes. But unfortunately, those who will call for the NEC meeting at the NWC, unfortunately, would they constitute a NEC that will dissolve them?
Happily
is that politically possible?
No, they have called for NEC meeting and they are under obligation to call for NEC. They cannot run the
and party. They will determine the agenda.
Yes. But on the floor of the NEC, anything can happen because they cannot stop people from expressing themselves.
So that the BOT, that for you is a way
the BOT, the governors form the bulk of the NEC. And even other members of NEC are nominees, either of the BOT or the governors. So you cannot run away from the power of NEC to solve this problem.
All right.
And that's why Sam Anyanwu and co. have refused to call NEC since last year. That is it.
Mark Jacobs, thank you so much. A former legal advisor of the People's Democratic Party. Thanks so much indeed for coming tonight.
Thank you so much.
It's good to see you again.
For having me.
I wish you and your party a peace does not look like something that is related to your party. When you mention PDP, you can't mention peace in the same sentence. Thank you so much indeed for your time.
You so much.
We take a break, everyone, but when we return, our attention is going to be on oil that is spilling all over Ogoni land. How can we set it out and clean it up for the interest of the people of that land? Dakuku Peter side, former Nimasa DG, will be joining me on the program after this break, everyone. Join us again. Everyone, let's get to the matter of the heart. So we know that President Bola Tinubu on Monday signed into law a bill establishing the Federal University of Environment and Technology in Rivers State and pledged more support for the Ogoni community. Ogoni town of Tai will host the university. Mr. Bayo Nanuga, the spokesperson of the president, said in the statement, and during the signing ceremony at the State House, President Tinubu said the establishment of the university would further empower Ogoni citizens and provide more opportunities for participation and development. Of course, we do know, a few days before then, President Tinubu had convened a closed-door meeting with key stakeholders from Rivers State, including Governor of the state, Siminalayi Fubara, the former Governor, Minister of the FCT, Yensam Wike, and representatives of Ogoni leaders to address pressing issues surrounding the Niger Delta cleanup project and escalating political tensions in the state. Amidst all of these critical issues relating to the issues generated by the spill and the environmental disaster. Tonight, I'm being joined by a public policy advocate and a former DG of Nemasa, Dr. Dakuku Peter Side. He's live for us in our studio. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
You are one of the children that comes from the oil-rich Niger Delta. And you perhaps have tasted a water that is unclean, eating from fruits that have been grown out of community, that oil has bastardized the agrarian society, fishes that have been killed by oil spill. How do you feel? Because I know you are from Okpobo. And Okpobo and Ogoni, they share borders. Their communities, they are close to each other. And perhaps there are those who will say, whatever happened to Ogoni, you even experience worse in Okpobo and adjoining communities. As a son of the soil, how do you feel tonight talking about the situation in an oil-rich Niger Delta, but then has become so destitute?
Thank you very much, Sean. The story of the Ogonis is the story of the Niger Delta people. And so Ogoni is a symbol of what is going on in the Niger Delta. And the challenge for me is that it is not only in the Niger Delta. Wherever you find extractive industries, you are likely going to experience significant political, economic, and environmental challenges. And that is what we're seeing play out in Ogoni. You also see that play out in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Whether it's from the economic perspective, you see that there is poverty versus wealth. And so in the midst of wealth, the local communities where these extractive industries operate, you could feel poverty. Now, whether it's in the political life, you could also see that their local institutions are usually bastardized. Whether it's in the environmental life, you could see a lot of pollution. You can see a lot of loss of biodiversity. You can see degradation of their environment. So the challenges are common. But Ogoni is peculiar for several reasons. And that is why, by 1990, Ogoni leaders organized themselves under the umbrella of the Movement of Survival of Ogoni People, MOSOP, and started agitation for environmental justice. And that led to what is now known as the Ogoni Bill of Rights. Now, aside from the Ogoni Bill of Rights, and when they started agitation, of course, it culminated in the death of Ken Saruwa and other Ogoni leaders. Then, after series of agitation, well-structured agitation, the Nigerian government commissioned a detailed report of the Ogoni environment that gave rise to the UNEP report. UNEP is an agency, it's an agency of the United Nations that gave rise to the UNEP report in 2011. Then government created, a platform. I don't want to say an agency of government because it's not backed by law. There's an edict backing it, created HYPRED to execute the recommendations of the UNEP report. That is exactly where we are in the Ogoni struggle for environmental justice.
But would you say that the death and the blood spilled by the Kensarowiwas of this world, the sacrifices made on behalf not only for the Ogoni people, but for the rest of every community in the Niger Delta area, do you think it is working in the interest of the Niger Delta people, considering that there's still a lot of devastation going on in those areas?
What I can say is that the sacrifice of Kensarowiwa and other Ogoni leaders and the quest for environmental justice by the Ogonis have elevated the Niger Delta struggle to the global level. And today, if you talk about the deltas of the world, I know for sure, I'm not saying that I guess, that Niger Delta will occupy a prominent place when we talk about environmental restoration in the deltas of the world. So that's one foot forward. Now, the second issue, or the second strand, or second dimension is, look, is government committed? And the oil industry, are they committed to the cleaning up of Ogoni land and the entire Niger Delta? That, again, is another issue. And so we must put all these issues in context for us to, like I always say, if you want to examine a child, you ask first, what is your curriculum? And what is the learning objective? What is the course outline? It is in that context that you examine a child. So if you want to examine, you must look at the issues holistically to know whether the issues of the Niger Delta are being attended to, whether the issues of Ogoni cleanup are being attended to. We must look at the UNEP report. For me, it is the ground norm today when you talk about the cleaning of contaminated sites, when you talk about cleaning of polluted sites in the Niger Delta. Ogoni, incidentally, is the reference point.
Interestingly, when you hear IPREP and those in the National Assembly trying to probe the $360 million and some of the allegations of corruption for the monies that are meant to do the remediation work in that land, it also makes the heart bleed. But first and foremost, you also cannot forget in 2016 the role played by the Buhari government, led by the then Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, literally spent a lot of time in the Niger Delta, meeting leaders, going around the land, and perhaps there are a lot of people who will say that death, even the immediate past efforts to clean up the land. Do you think that Yemi Osinbajo and that process on the effort, do you think it's yielded any kind of effort, considering the percentage of remediation work that has gone on?
It yielded a lot of effort. So it's not just about Yemi Osinbajo, Professor Yemi Osinbajo acknowledged his effort and his contributions. I think the way to start is that when former President Buhari was campaigning, he made it very clear, he had meetings with Ogoni leaders, he made it clear that he's committed to the implementation of the UNEP report, and some credit must be given to him that he initiated the implementation of the report. President Goodluck Jonathan received reports in 2011, as you are aware, but it was President Muhammadu Buhari, perhaps with the effort of Ogoni leaders, and you must acknowledge that, the effort of Ogoni leaders and the intervention of the then Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, that led to the takeoff of the implementation of the UNEP report. Now, again, in implementing the UNEP report, government created an institution called the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP, which is under the Federal Ministry of Environment. It is a special purpose vehicle. It's not a creation of the law. A government made government created that vehicle to implement the report. Now, the report made it clear that government should create 3 different institutions. The first one is the Ogoni Environmental Fund Authority. The second one is the Center for Excellence in Environmental Remediation. The third is the Integrated Contaminated Soil Management Center. Now, these 3 institutions have been created, but again, with a lot of modifications. So I think that we've taken off. Have we achieved all the results we intend to achieve, what we set out to achieve? The answer is no. One thing that is clear and it's important to say this, even the UNEP report acknowledge the fact that cleaning Ogoni is one of the most impacted sites in the world. They made it very clear. And that at the time, it will be the site, that is cleaning will take the longest period. The recommendation is that the cleaning of Ogoni land will take between 25 and 30 years.
30 years.
And so if UNEP recommended, UNEP report recommended that the cleaning of Ogoni, then we don't expect that they would have accomplished all of that in 5 years or maximum 6 years. The remediation is not a light switch where you turn off and turn on. No, it's process driven.
Let me then ask you, with what, and there are those who say, for whatever is what, the reason why the Ogoni conversation is coming up right now is because of the possible and the proposed resumption of oil exploration in that land. And what do you think are the reactions of the Ogoni people to that effort?
If I must be sincere to you, it will be premature to resume oil exploration in Ogoni land. What I think that the government has also chosen is to do further consultations. You need to do and build trust. Further consultations, build trust, and show genuine commitment to real environmental governance. The challenge all along has been the opaque nature of oil exploration, not just in Ogoni land, in the entire Niger Delta. And the fact that the way benefits derivable from oil exploration is distributed to the exclusion of the people of the Niger Delta, that is the big question mark. And until we address that in a transparent manner, then we will not make much progress.
I mean, and you look at what is going on, the fact that the people, the leaders in Ogoni land are divided, and along political, along ideological, or the narratives that have divided them. How does this make you feel? What do you make of that division that we see presently within the leadership of the Ogoni people?
It is not unusual. Like I always said, wherever you have extractive industries, you have that what I now like to call divide and rule tactics used by those who are doing the extraction. It is very common in all places where you have oil extractive industry going on. So it's not peculiar to Ogoni, but what matters is the interest of the majority of the people. And it's the same across the Niger Delta, where even the oil industry has been fingered, in this process of dividing the people along different lines. There are usually sub-ethnicities, there are different economic interests, there are different social considerations, there are a lot of political considerations. Now, you see, and so it's not peculiar to the Ogonis alone, and it's not an excuse for us to abdicate the responsibility of cleaning Ogoni land, restoring the environment of Ogoni land, providing social amenities. It's not an excuse at all.
Kana, Gokana, Tai, and Eleme, these are four local governments constituting the Ogoni land.
Yes.
And if you look at OML 11 and 51, these are fundamental exploration field in that area. And some of the people in the land have said, look, we need consultation. And the engagement has to be on another level. You cannot just go into that land and start exploring oil at this age and time.
Very true.
What would you say the President Tinubu government should be doing? Because one thing that is fundamental, the NSA what is in that meeting, it means that it is not only economic issues, it's not only environmental issues, it's not only political issues, it's also of a security dimension. How do you think, you are a son of the soil, how do you think is best for this government to handle the matter such that trust, like you said, can be built?
All right. We've outlined what we think government should do. Now, government has shown good faith in the Ogoni cleanup. And if you look at the UNEP report, there are 4 dimensions recommended by that report. The first one is bioremediation. The second is build capacity of the people, so that they can take responsibility for the cleanup of Ogoni land going forward. The third, again, is sustainable livelihood. Provide alternative livelihood for the people of Ogoni, because you have polluted their rivers, you have degraded their land, you have denied them means of economic livelihood. Provide alternative means. And you've done this over a period of 50 years. So provide them alternative means of livelihood. Then the last one, which is critical, put in place a transparent governance and management system for the exploration and exploitation of oil resources to the benefit of the locals, of the Ogoni people, or the Niger Delta people, as the case may be. That nobody is talking about that part of the report, recommendations of the report. That, transparent governance and management system for the oil resources.
Do you think that the state governor should be the one pushing that, or the Ogoni leaders?
Both the Ogoni leaders, the state government, and the federal government of Nigeria. And so we have focused too much on remediation. And I want to say, I've followed for some time what's going on with the remediation effort. I am satisfied that it's progressing at pace. It may be slow, but a lot of significant achievements have been made. Now, what is called the simple contaminated sites have been remediated. Now, the high prep is at the medium complex sites, and the next will be at the high complex sites. Recall that UNEP did a study of 69 sites. Now, the first 20 sites have been attended to. These are simple sites. Now, having talked about remediation, high prep also has started attending to the livelihood, providing alternative livelihood. Now, whether putting infrastructure in place, power, giving the people skill, pilots have been trained, scholarships have been given. In fact, at the last count, 300 scholarships have been given out. Some of Ogoni sons have been sent to different countries to learn one skill or the other, providing alternative means. Haven't denied them their land, haven't denied them resources coming from their land and their waters, including air pollution. Now, this issue of governance, accountability is not being attended to. It's one that nobody is paying attention to. That now government need to revisit the framework for oil exploration. So apart from engagement of Ogonis to build trust, can we put in place, a governance system that is transparent, that, protects the interest of all, so that benefits will be distributed equally and equitably. Not necessarily equally, but equitably. The Ogonis can benefit, the Nigerian people can benefit, and all those who bear oil, could also benefit. Now, for as long as we don't provide a transparent resource management framework in place, the agitation, the conflict, the insecurity will persist. Now, stakeholder engagement is critical. Cleaning up the environment is another. But importantly, let's put a new framework in place. Have we made progress from 1990 to date? We've made progress, but is it adequate? No, it's not sufficient.
You look at 1958 and 1995. These are critical days or years in the Ogoni land. The discovery and exploration of oil, shell being a major front in the exploration, and you can hold them accountable because they are a major front, and the spills have been linked also largely to that company. And you look at 1995, where sorrow, tears and blood rain in Ogoni land because of the leaders of Ogoni land and how the military leaders treated them. But if you look at it going forward, the governor, the president has said there will be a university to be instituted or located in Tai. That is an initiative. It's an effort from this government that we show the people of Ogoni land that we mean well. But beyond that is also the issue of justice. What would you say would be an effort that will speak justice to the Ogoni people, especially for what the likes of Ken Sarowiwa has faced over what has become an injustice served on the people of that place?
Now, you talked about establishing university in Ogoni land. Universities have been established in all parts of the country. Were those universities established to address environmental injustice? Not necessarily. And so establishing a university in Ogoni land is not the same as addressing environmental injustice and other form of injustices that the people of Ogoni have suffered. Because we have universities all over the place. So it's only fair that the universities establish that. But aside from that, recall that also the UNEP report recommended the setting up of an institution, the Center for Excellence in Environmental Restoration, which has been established in Bori, actually between Bori and Wiyakara. Now, within that center, the Center for Environmental Excellence, Excellence in Environmental Restoration. You also have the Integrated Contaminated Soil Management Center. And it is designed as will and spoke, where there are also integrated contaminated soil management center in different locations, wherever you have contaminated soil. So for me, to address the injustice the Ogonis have suffered, there are three critical things. The first, can we revisit the Ogoni Bill of Rights? For me, that's the most important thing. If we address the Ogoni Bill of Rights, we have addressed the injustices suffered by the Ogoni people.
How possible is that?
It is very possible.
How visible?
It is feasible.
Practically speaking.
It is practical.
Can this government make it happen?
The government can and should. If they want to be fair to the people of Ogoni, can we revisit the Ogoni Bill of Rights? And as we visit the Ogoni Bill of Rights, it simply means we are visiting the injustices meted out to the people of the Niger Delta over a period of nearly 100 years. Not just from 1958.
Okay. It's interesting. I'm hoping that the leaders of Ogoni land, the leaders in the country and Rivers State will take action. By the way, are you still a member of APC?
I thought that this conversation
yes, it is about, because I'm closing the conversation.
It's about the cleanup in Ogoni land.
It is actually.
And what I like to do is that I wear multiple hats and multiple caps. Okay. So when I am wearing the multiple cap of a public analyst, I focus on that. When I'm wearing the cap of a politician, I focus on that. For this evening, I am focusing on the cap
DP
of a public analyst.
DP, are you from Rivers State?
I am from Rivers State. There's nothing contentious.
Are you an Opobo man?
I'm an Opobo man. There's nothing contentious.
Did you run for governor in Rivers State?
That is a different conversation. I didn't run for governorship in the last election.
Are you a member of the APC?
That's a different conversation.
Are you a friend to Rotimi Amechi?
I am a friend to Rotimi Amechi.
Are you on the side of Nyesom Wike?
I am not on the side of Nyesom Wike.
Are you a supporter of Fubara?
I am also not in his party.
Will you be running for governor again?
That's a different conversation.
Would you?
That's a different conversation.
Would you like to be governor?
That's a different conversation. I said so. Sheon, I made it very clear that today I am wearing the cap of a public analyst. I'm not wearing the cap of a politician or a farmer.
And we ended the conversation.
I'm a farmer. I'm also a consultant.
And a fisherman.
And a fisherman. And so today I'm not wearing the cap of a fisherman. I'm not wearing the cap of a farmer. I'm also not wearing the cap of a politician.
Let me touch on the cap as a statesman.
You talked about corruption.
Yeah.
In the Ogoni cleanup. I think that is very fair to the high prep project. The reason is simple. Now, recall that high prep was set up with a board of trustees, set up with a governing council. Now, there is a regulator in the country, NOSDRA, established by an act of parliament that oversights, they regulate the cleaning up of contaminated sites, pollution in the country, oil polluted sites in the country. In addition, and so there are multiple layers of oversight of what high prep is doing. Now, if you know members of the board of trustees, it used to be headed by Dr. Wale Edu, who is now a finance minister. I'm sure that you can deny him everything, but not his integrity. Now, there's also a governing council. Now, if you look at these multiple layers, are you saying that they will all be asleep while resources meant for the cleanup of Ogoni land is misappropriated? Not likely. Not likely. And you see, so I don't think I want us to throw away the baby and the bathwater.
All right. Yeah.
What I think, we should try and verify the claims by high prep. And I try to do that on my own. When high prep said, listen, we have cleaned up 20 of the 69 sites recommended by UNEP. I've taken my time to visit a number of those sites. I can't say I visited. Recall that.
Did you see any active evidence of that claim?
I saw. Now, recall that my initial background is sciences. Before I went on to do management, do a PhD in organizational behavior and all of that. So, I also wear the cap of a scientist. Like I've always said, remediation is not a light switch. Turn off and turn on. It will slow, and I acknowledge that. Happily, I want to acknowledge that in the past 1 year, it's gained a lot of traction. I don't know what changed. What I suspect is that the current leadership may be more proactive. And maybe perhaps they're getting adequate support from the Honorable Minister of Environment, who is the supervisory minister. And maybe the issue of funding. Recall that they don't get funding from federal budget. It is from the oil and gas companies and other stakeholders that contribute. Now, these funds are, are in custody of the Board of Trustees
We need to go.
managed by the Governing Council.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Dakubu Peterson, who is wearing the hat of
a public analyst, not a politician.
He's Rotimi Amechi's man. He says he's not a Yinson Wike's man. He's also a Fubara's man.
I didn't say that. I said I'm not in the same party
with them.
With governor.
But you're not against him.
Fubara.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Because he's governor of my state anyway.
Yeah.
And whoever is governor per time. When Nyesom Wike was governor, recall that I was doing open letters to him consistently, giving my advice. I did that consistently over time. And if Governor Fubara seek my advice, of course I'm willing to offer that advice.
Thank you so much.
Like many governors, of course and I've always said so, unofficially, I'm addressing 5 governors.
All right, thank you so much indeed.
Whoever appreciate my help.
Dr. Dakubu Peterson, thank you so much. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Okimale. God bless Nigeria.